picking the right partner at the time was really important to our early success. Working with Refine Labs was one of the first things. So I prioritized two initiatives. One was brand and one was what we can call demand creation and capture. And Refine Labs at the time and still today was progressive in nature on, what your everything from the belief system to the transformation required to drive growth and really questioning what was in place in most organizations before. And so I think in our early engagement, when you and I first started chatting, we really, sort of disrupted the model. And instead of looking at the top of funnel to lead conversion, we started with what our revenue goals were and how we were going to work back, to build that engine and the model that we had to introduce to a business, of 600 people at the time in order to drive that rapid transformation. So picking the right partner at the time was really important to our early success. Within the first 6 months of becoming CMO, to halfway through the year, we were actually able to show the business was going in the right direction, and not in the terms of necessarily just early indicators, but in pipeline development as well as revenue achievement. Where I was armed with to be able to start to have the necessary conversations with my other go-to-market leaders as well as with the board to gain alignment on how we were going to measure and report and the things that were important to what we were actually trying to achieve. So again, whether that was moving from a cost per lead at $100, but having a CAC that outweighed, the cost of our software, that was the early days of having a view of, what I would say is planning and reporting framework of where we were going to go. Fast forward 3 months and 6 months, not only being able to give campaign insights, but different perspective, even than what we held in the organization on quality pipeline, conversion predictability, as well as ARR achievement, and then being able to, forecast that with more predictability quarter after quarter. As our systems were being built internally and our process internally, I was able to guide the team for the first few years, knowing that Refine Labs had a very mature and polished view of what are the impact of our efforts. And so sometimes while our internal data didn't align, I was able to use Refine Labs as sort of the benchmark to guide our development and always have a view where I could compare and ask the tough questions, because we did have a source of reporting analytics built against our strategy and our company goals that wasn't necessarily relying on the maturity of our system and process internally. So being able to bridge what we were building with what Refine Labs was showing to guide how we should be building and growing was really important.
We were investing in Facebook, investing in LinkedIn, investing in other channels like Reddit that, other companies might not necessarily be investing in at the time. We were telling our company, we're going to see the effects of this come through on channels like organic and direct and branded paid search. And when we started to see those channels increase in demo requests, then we were able to prove our strategy. We were able to say that, see, we said this was going to happen, and it is happening. And so with the recommendation from Refine Labs, we also implemented some self-reported attribution as well. And that also validated the channels that we were leveraging and the channels that we were investing in against everyone's recommendations. So, we didn't have necessarily the trust from the organization or the data at the time to prove that strategy, but definitely where we are now, we are getting more investment. We have the trust and we have the data now to prove it out as well.
Refine Labs was able to set the North Star of where we wanted to go in order to keep our team aligned and trying to achieve, that milestone. Refine Labs was always, I would say the next goalpost ahead. Supporting our growth over the last 3.5 years with Refine Labs, I think would have been a false start if we didn't have a partner that was able to put the North Star in front of us. You can start with a goalpost and a benchmark and a framework that you're working to achieve in shorter order. If we had to figure that out on our own, it probably would have taken us twice the amount of time. But because we had, the shining example, our team was able to align to that.
What I really liked about working with Refine Labs was the fact that the team kind of bases a lot of the reporting on the CRM and not just looking at top level conversions, but how do those conversions make it to the funnel, and essentially how our specific platforms are actually contributing to revenue. I think that's big because a lot of agencies don't really take a look at that view. It's a lot of work, and a lot of agencies don't really want to put in that work if they don't have to, which again, we didn't. It's not something we really pushed at the time, but I think is like really common knowledge, at least within Vena now, is what is the attributable revenue to everything we do?
What I enjoyed most about working with Refine Labs over the years was their ability to acknowledge our in-house expertise and like that mutual respect that we had for each other's expertise, and the consultative approach that they took, where it was leveling up our team in the best way and helping them learn and grow so that we could get to a point where we could bring things in-house, and had the ability to do that. And it wouldn't have been possible without their partnership.
What was super cool to see was not only that we saw positive results from that first year with the partnership with Refine Labs, but it was something that we've seen sustained over the last couple of years.
As we, continued on the path to great. So looking beyond managing micro CAC, looking beyond being able to have predictable growth, and also being able to drive, the revenue predictably now over the last 3 years. As we grow, so does our contribution. So I think it's really important when you engage with a company like Refine Labs, you're very clear on where you are from a maturity perspective, what you're trying to achieve, and also being able to get into the model, not looking at how expensive or inexpensive this is, but what ROI am I going to drive based on the goals that I have? And when you frame it that way, you treat it as an investment. And with Refine Labs, you're able to see how $1 can create another dollar in growth. And because we had that framework, as well as the established timeline, expectations were clear from the front. We were able to grow against the investment we were willing to invest at the time, which grew certainly over time as we saw results. But again, I think it takes a level of maturity, but also, are you willing to make the investments against the resources, the content, the assets, and the channels, and dedicate the time you need to build your strategy from beginning to end? As a CMO and coming in new as the first CMO, sometimes you're afraid to act. It's really important to understand your business, your culture, your audience. But had I not within the first, quarter of being at Vena engaged the right partner, which was Refine Labs, to help me explore where we were going and really get to a solidified framework of how we would get there, I think the time it would have taken to reach those milestones of success would have taken 6 months, 12 months, if not 18 months. And because, I was able to partner with Refine Labs in the beginning, I think we were able to really accelerate our impact and growth as a marketing organization in short order and build the right foundation where we're now orchestrating scale.